Hey crafty friends, welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to take the brand new Elfin Christmas stamp set from Patrama Crafter Stamps, and we're going to make a Halloween fall card because I want to. So it's good to know that you can take your stamp sets in your collection and change them to a different season if you want to, or make them for a different occasion. So that's what we're going to do. I'll show you another version of the card we're going to make today at the very end, so stick around for that. We're going to use this stamp set first, and I have just picked pattern paper from my stash to use. So the first thing I need to do is I need to stamp my elf. So I'm going to use the little boy elf. So I'm going to go ahead and stamp that in an alcohol marker friendly ink. And I'll stamp that down. Go. Now I'm going to set this to the side, let this dry, and we're going to work on our other parts of the card. I'm going to take my navy cardstock. It wasn't quite dark enough for what I want and to match my paper, so we're going to darken this up just a little bit. All right, so I'm going to use my cottontail blending brush, and let me pull in my scratch piece of paper. I'm just going to use some distress ink to darken my cardstock up a little bit at the bottom. It wasn't, and it's going to dull it down a little bit because of the color it is. So, and this is chipped sapphire. I'm just going to darken this piece of cardstock up where I can use that for my sentiment later. Do a little bit more, because I want this to, I'm going to set that to the side and let that dry also. I'm going to take my little elf that I used, my scratch piece of paper here, and I have a strip of cardstock. It's like 1 3/4 inches by 4. I'm going to prep that with my cottontail blending tool, or a powder tool, because we are going to do some emboss resist. So I'm going to take, and I'm going to ink up my little elf, and I'm going to stamp him down on there in the embossing ink. This is just Versamark ink. And I'm going to turn my cardstock, stamp him over here, and I'm going to stamp him over on this side also. And I just need his little head, because I'm going to fill in everything else with the stars. I'm just going to kind of stamp those around. All right, now I'm going to take and cover that with embossing powder. So I'm going to go ahead and heat up my heat tool. I'm just going to use some clear embossing powder. We're going to do white. Heat that up, and I'm going to heat set. All right, while that's going to cool, I'm going to go ahead and stamp the inside of my card. So I've just got a top folding A2 card base, and I'm going to take my little female elf, put her in there, and I'm going to stamp the sentiment, and we're going to add in some stars as well. So pick that up, and I'm going to stamp this using Distress Oxide ink. I just picked a color that was close to my pattern paper that I'm going to be using, or a color that I used that I'm going to use also. But I'm going to stamp in the Distress Oxide ink because that is better for stamping. And I just thought the believe in the magic of the season is funny for, and it's out, could go for any season, but I thought it was great for doing this Halloween card also, because it lets you see that you can use one stamp set for multiple occasions. Okay, we are going to now do our emboss it resist because this is dry now. And I picked some wild honey and some rusty hinge for my ink blending. Get my blending brushes and clean that off a little bit. I'm going to start with my lightest color, which is the wild honey, and I'm going to blend that up. And I am going to use this again, so we'll go ahead and do all of our ink blending. Now, I do want it to get a little bit lighter though as we go up. So now we'll switch to our rusty hinge and just add that along the bottom edge there. It has a nice subtle gradient. We can always come back around the top and add that wild honey and blend it down. Just like so. Take our cleaning cloth and we're going to buff off the excess ink. Just like so. And now I'm going to take I got a little square that we're going to use. So we're going to take and add some color onto this. So I'm just going to start with the wild honey. Blend out along the top section of it. Add a little bit more color there. Then I will add in just along the edge some of that rusty hinge to just deepen up that color. And then along the bottom, we're going to go with some peeled paint that we use to stamp on the inside. We're just using the distress ink version. Because we need him to have something to stand on. Just going to add a little bit of that in there. And then I'm also going to add a little bit of forest moss along the edge. And let those colors blend together. All right, I can set that to the side and we can start working on the rest of our card. All right, we'll go ahead and prep our cardstock and stamp our sentiment. And then for that, it's going to say just effing around. So we'll pop that in there. Make sure it's nice and even. And we'll stamp that using our Versamark. And we'll add our white detail embossing powder. Okay, once that is completely dried, we will cut that out. Now our ink should be dry now that we can color up our little image. All right, I'm going to color his skin first. We're going to be using OO markers today. So I'm going to start off with OR37. We're going to come around where any shadow would be. His little ear, around underneath his hairline. There. His little neck. The shadow right there. Being a little shadow, we could have little shadows under his little fingers. And I'm also going to add in a little bit of this color into his hair. So I'll go ahead and flip that in. The hairline. And then I'm going to do his present. This is going to be my darkest color for part of his present. So I'm going to go ahead and put in those shadows now as we are working. Now I'm going to switch to OR 4.2 for his next darkest color on his skin. His little eyes and the rest of his little ear right there. We'll extend that down just a little bit. I'm going to go with OR 4.2. This is my mid-tone color. So I will have more of this on him than our highlights or anything else. And then for my highlight, I'm going to use OR 2.0. Now, we're going to go back to his hair for a second. And I'm going to add in some OR 3.8 as my darkest color. I'll blend that out from the shadow right there. Just following along the lines of the hair, what's been drawn. We'll blend that out just a tad with our OR 3.7. And then my lightest color is going to be OR 3.4. So I'm just going to blend both of those together. It gives us our little highlight. All right, we're going to do our blacks next. So I'm going to start off with the red black, which is RK. Add that here, along there, along the back of his little pom-pom, on his little neck right there. And then we're going to have some in his little stripes. And then right on the tip of his little sleeve right there. Now I'm going to switch to WG9. It's going to be my next darkest color, because we are coloring black, so we got to have that dark in there. I know some of you are freaking out right now going, oh my God, that's so dark. Don't worry, it's going to get lighter. A little bit anyway. Go ahead and blend that down there. And then I'll go to WG7. I'm going to take that down through the band. Down on his collar here. Along there. Blend that in there. And then my lightest color for that is going to be WG5. We would have a little highlight, so that's going to be our lightest color for our highlight on his parts of his black on his outfit. And again, you could color this as Christmas. I chose to do it as a Halloween to get more use out of the set. Okay, he needs some little rosy cheeks. So I'm going to use Art 0.3 as the darkest. And then I'll blend that out with the 0.2 R 0.2, just a little bit. Now we're going to do his eyes. And he's going to have some blue eyes. So we're going to use blue violet here. This is BV 4.5. And then I'm going to blend that with a B0.6. And then my lightest color is going to be B2.4. So I'm going to start off with O2.7 as my darkest color. So we're going to do that on his little stripes. I'm also going to add this in on our present here. So that's my dark. Help blend that other color out. We just, the 3.7 we used on there, help blend that. We're going to do it on his little shoes at the bottom. As well. And I'm going to add this into his hat also. Now I'm going to move on to O2.5. So we'll go ahead and blend that out. Everywhere we use that 2.7, we'll go ahead and blend out. Because some of his outfit is actually going to be behind the present, we will color that in a second. My next color is O2.4. That's going to be my lightest color. So we'll blend that 2.5 out. Finish coloring our box and our stripes along with the shoes. Right, for our outfit, we're going to color that green. So I'm going to use G18 as my darkest color. Into these folds on the outside edge there. Underneath his little arm. Here. It's also going to be my bow, so we'll go ahead and add that into the bow. And the ribbon. I will switch to G17. My next color, we'll blend that out. Our G18, we're going to blend out with that G17. And then I'm going to blend that out. I'm going to switch to YG18 or 16, I'm sorry. It's going to be the lightest color on my ribbon, but we're going to add in just a little bit more color onto his outfit. I'm going to switch to YG14 to finish off the coloring. All right, so there's my little Halloween elf. I'm going to cut him out with my scissors, and I will be right back. All right, here's my little elf, Halloween elf cut out. I'm going to go ahead and trim out my sentiment. So I can take and trim this down. And I'm just going to trim it right along the edge. And then we'll trim off the top part just super close. We're going to add our pattern paper. So I'm just going to attach that to the center. And then this piece is going to go over about a 1/2 inch from the edge. And it's, I think this one's 2 inches by 5 1/4. My first piece was 4 by 5 1/4. Then we have our piece that we did the emboss resist on. So we're going to add that about a 1/2 inch or 3/4 of an inch up from the bottom. And I've got our ink blended piece here. So we'll go ahead and add that. I have a scalloped square cut just big enough to hold that, and that is from some holographic cardstock. Just to give it a little bit of a bling. And this is something I forgot to do earlier with that scrap that I have. I forgot to cut that down for this. Give that just a little bit of sparkle. Just a little extra. All right, so that's what we have so far. We're going to add foam tape to the back of our little elf. Okay, let's layer up everything together. We're going to add our little elf onto our square. Our little color, and I'm going to add him over and about right there this time. Then we're going to go ahead, actually let me go ahead and glue that down. Put that about right in there. Make sure it's lined up. And we'll take our sentiment. I'm going to add that. And then we're going to finish this off by adding some rhinestones. We're going to add some cosmic rhinestones and some new penny rhinestones. And these are all from Pajama Crafter Stamp. And we're going to use our Pajama Crafter Stamp wand. So I want a couple up there. So I'm going to add just some various sizes. I don't want them all lined up together. So I want them to kind of be sporadic. So I'm going to add some of the new penny. I just thought the new penny added just that little extra something to the color palette. Made it help it bring it into fall. The last thing I'm going to do is add some gel pen highlights. So we're just going to go around and add a few of those. Would have a little bit of highlights in his hair as well. So I'm going to add that into his eye, that little sparkle into his eye. And onto our present. We'll have a little bit of highlight there. All right, there's the finished card. Here's a closer look at the card. And here's the outside. And I did promise you that if you stuck around to the end, I would show you the other version of the card using the same products. And there it is. And then for the inside of this one, I just added the little boy with his same sentiment. There's a close look at that one. There's a look at both of my cards. I hope you enjoy this video and enjoying the Sweet and Spooky series, and I will see you in the next video. If you like this video, you're probably going to like the one coming up right there. Bye guys. Love you. Stay crafty.